Okay, people. So I planted some more. I've been pretty much... I forgot about this little guy. It's actually growing. It's hanging upside down. As you can see, last time we were in here, they just keep getting bigger and bigger. Tomorrow I'm going to put sticks in here. As you can see what I've done pretty much for the day. Right? Okay. And then I'm going to do tomorrow, or I'm going to work until it's dark. I'm going to do as much as I can until it's dark. Right? And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to say something, because for Fraser Health to sit up there and say they're trying to dismiss serious allegations kind of makes you wonder, right? So I'm going to come back and talk about that in a minute. Hold on. Okay, people. It is July 17th, 2017. At 11:30 at night. As you've seen, I put more tomato plants in the ground today. This camera, I don't know. I see it flickering, people. It is what it is. My printer's broken. So I don't know how I'm supposed to do all this paperwork with a broken printer. No money to replace it. I'm going to make reference to this GMOI at the end of this video. I'm going to take you to the last post, and I'm going to apply that to my kids. Not my youngest, but to my middle daughter, to my younger son, to my older daughter. I don't talk to my older son, so I'm not even going to make reference to him. But prior to this little clip, there was the greenhouse video, right? I'm out there, I'm working and whatever, and I'm thinking, why would Fraser Health want to dismiss serious matters? And then ask for special costs. What are these special costs that they're going to get out of me, people? Are they going to order me to go out there and do community work? Go volunteer my time at the food bank as punishment for standing up for my stepdad and my kids and my grandson and for myself and for the foundation that has been trashed, basically, through gossip and spiteful insinuendos, for the simple fact is it distracts away from what happened to Uncle John through Fraser Health Authority, CIBC, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. There goes the camera. Doesn't like it, does it? It's all that energy weapons. Remember the little orb that floated by? Video's up. Cell phones don't pick up on that shit, people. They have filters on them. Alright? Camcorders can, though. So anyway, why would Fraser Health want to dismiss serious matters? You would think that they would want to settle what I'm saying, what I've been saying. And I didn't really start saying it until I actually sat down and I started writing the notice of claim. Did you notice that? I don't know if anyone noticed that, because when I started writing the notice of claim, okay, I'm looking at myself. When I started, because I'm watching the camera, waiting for it to start spazzing out, right? I have to kind of keep an eye on it. But when I started working on the notice of claim, and I started connecting the dots through the paperwork that I have, through the bank statements and that kind of stuff, right? I started reading the mandates and the legislation and the rules and the acts and all this other crap, right? Power of Attorney Act, Mental Health Act, Property Act, Criminal Code of Canada, read it like a Bible, skimmed through some law books and the Community Living Act. It all kind of came together, people. And that's when I started seeing it for what it really was. Because really, the Dunk Clan couldn't have done what they done unless, of course, Fraser Health and their social workers and their doctors and their nurses and their little colluded group of Code White, here comes the criminalized family, right? Teenagers, young adults, grandchildren, oh my God, they're dangerous, you know? Where's the garlic? Posing as professionals, healthcare professionals, posing, when in fact they were nothing but actors. And as I'm writing, the mystery started to unsolve. And Fraser Health Authority wants to dismiss it, even though they acknowledge that it's serious. You would think that a corporation would want to dig a little deeper, right, to find out the truth. Because these are just employees within thousands of employees. Unless, of course, the guys up at top know what's going on and they don't want to rock the boat because they're drooling over those billions of dollars coming in from all those old people losing their houses, losing their assets, their stocks and their bonds and their bank accounts and their pensions and their life insurance policies, all this other shit that gets deposited into banks. Can't have one without the other. With the public guardian trustee in the middle of all that mix, when they every now and then they toss a bone to those corrupt healthcare workers, whether they're nurses, doctors, physiotherapists, whoever, right? Because they're the scouts, people. What they're gonna? What are the special costs, people? What are they gonna charge me? They can't make me go out and do community work. I've already done that. Doesn't mean anything. You can give and give and give and give and give and give, and it will never be enough. Right? Especially to those bodies that expect hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of giving. Like city councils and that kind of, with their, their little charitable, there goes the camera. Hold on a minute. It's either that or the X camera, and the X camera, it videotapes really good, but I can't see the screen on it anymore. So I can't hook it up to the computer and transfer it over, and so I don't even waste my time with it because it's like takes me 20 minutes just to get it to transfer over onto the computer. So, special costs. What, they're going to charge me money? Where are they going to get it from? Everybody's bailing ship. This is what Fraser Health Authority, CIBC Bank, and those types of people, right, have taught my children to bail ship. My younger son, I'm leaving. And when I leave, because you don't love me, I can't trust you. Whatever it is, whatever's bugging him for the day. When I leave, I'm not telling you, I'm just going to leave. Well, I wonder where he learned that from. Andre just disappeared. Everybody went into suicide mode when that happened, right? But these people that do that kind of stuff, contemporary slavery, kidnapping, whatever it is, people just disappear, right? Because it's all about money. That's what it is, people. Money. It props up that ministry, right? So it was enough that Andre disappeared. Nobody got to say goodbye to Andre when Andre disappeared. And then 2 years later and a bit, and then Uncle John just disappeared. Just disappeared. Well, why wouldn't my son just want to disappear when people around him just disappear? As the corporations, right? Because, you know, when children go missing, it's done through a corporation. A government is a corporation. A health authority is a corporation. People just disappear through corporations. So why wouldn't my kids just want to up and disappear one day? Because they're so frustrated with life, with all these freaking demons running around. And then blame me for it because I talk about it. Oh, you blaming the government. Fucking right, I blame the government. These are their government employees. They're the ones that have the pension plans. They're the ones with the benefit packages. They're the ones with the superannuation. They're the ones that take up 57% of the provincial budget just to keep them employed, even though they're only 2% of the total fucking population of British Columbia, Canada. 2%. Well, might be more than 2%. I'd have to calculate it out. But 400,000 out of 4.6 million. Take up 57% at least of the provincial budget just to prop up their wages and benefit packages and life insurance policies and all this other shit via through their corporations where people just disappear. What is that called? Brain trauma. Right? And then, you know, it wasn't enough that people just disappear, but, you know, the bandwagon of GMOI jumps on board because they got to cover their tracks, right? Duncan Clan don't want to get caught. You know, it's bad enough that the corporation is being held up to the fucking light. You know, Duncan Clan's still in the dark, hiding behind fake usernames and all this other shit, phoning up the royal saying, Uncle John was a retard in the year 2000. He didn't know what he was doing, even though Joan Duncan bankrupted him and Uncle John wanted to try and reestablish credit before the 7-year fucking time was up and he had to do it through Judy. But he didn't know what he was doing. Because we were just waiting for him to die so that we could come in and steal his body, because that's all we wanted, so that we could hunt down his superannuation life insurance policy that the taxpayers pay for. Right? With the help of the Fraser Health Authority and the Island Authority. The Vancouver Island, the Victoria Island Authority. Because he went from illegally, through their mandates, illegally people, from one care facility to a hospital illegally. And the Fraser Health Authority wants to dismiss that, even though they acknowledge that it's serious. And then charge me special costs. Even though I can't access the healthcare system in any capacity. In any capacity. Because I haven't done my taxes yet. Because I'm too busy trying to hold down a leaky boat. As my landlady is telling me, she doesn't want to fix anything because her taxes are too high. Right? And it just makes more sense to sell the house. Again, being held emotionally hostage to that. Right? So don't complain. If you complain, I'm going to sell the house. So I have to live in fear for maybe the porch falling apart, or live with the grit and the mud and the water damage that gets everything dirty and just whatever, right? Things get ruined. I have to live with the raccoons, you know, not complain, be happy, be grateful that I got a leaky boat, which I am. As you can tell with my greenhouse, I worked hard for that greenhouse, people. 4 years. This is the first year I've actually really planted anything in it, and nobody wants me to have it. My kids don't want me to have it, right? Because they're beating me up because everybody around them goes disappearing as if it's my fault. I'm not the one that profiteered off of Andre when he disappeared. It was the provincial government that profiteered off of Andre because they got the federal baby bonus directed to them. Right? They got to bamboozle the public into thinking that they were protecting Andre even though they destroyed my family. And left lasting psychological damage in there to the point where it wasn't enough that they did it once, but they had to do it twice. They went after Uncle John. They go after the children and they go after the old people, right? Because both of them can generate money. Whereas with my older daughter, she goes to the hospital. They know she's bleeding out. They know she's dying. They know she's mentally ill. They know that chances are she's probably homeless, right? They just let her go. They don't dope her up like they doped Uncle John up. They don't give her OxyContin. They don't make it so that she can't get up and walk away. They make it so that she wants to get up and walk away because they don't fucking give her drugs. Because they know that if they don't give her drugs, she'll pick herself up and crawl out of there if she has to go get pain medication. Because that's basically what heroin is. It's pain. It subsides pain. OxyContin is an offshoot of heroin. That's what they gave John. They gave him so much that he couldn't even put on his fucking sweater, people. He couldn't stand up. Not only did they give him OxyContin so that he couldn't stand up, but they didn't give him physiotherapy so that he stayed seized up. But not my daughter. They give her no pain medication so that they know that she'll crawl out of there. And they don't care where she goes. Because there's no money attached to her. There is no life insurance policy. There are no pay-as-you-go $1,700 a month health care old folks home that they can tap into, right? There isn't no, oh, well, we got to meet our year-end budget with our 10,000 kids within the system in order to get the full $1.3 billion into our ministry so that 80% of that, well, 70% of that goes into our wages, while the other 30% goes into the families, which never does trickle down to the families. Because it goes into the court system. And you never get to talk to a judge, even though you go to court 15 times. They got a pretty good fucking system going here, people. The provincial government employees do not work for the public. They work for their pension plans. They work for their superannuation life insurance policies. And they keep it in the family. By hook or by crook. And that's why people just disappear. At the convenience of destroying families. Again, take it up with the ombudsman. Thousands of families have filed complaints against the public guardian and trustee and the odd sister nurse, the Lovings sister nurses with their cow white. For the very thing that I'm talking about. The difference between me and them is they didn't found an international nonprofit that wanted to actually help people. They're just normal people living normal lives that got destroyed. Right? And they were embarrassed to talk about it. Because as soon as you talk about it, and you put your face out there, right? And you trademark it, in terms of universal school meal program, you go out there and you do community events that put some pep to the step for the mayor, that at the end of the day, these mayors in the city of Surrey have never gone into these poor complexes where the poor children live and put themselves in there with the kids, with the parents, with the residents of those communities and actually try and help them. Because they don't care. They don't care about them any more than they care about the homeless people. Because they see them as a burden. Right? So, if you do care, God forbid, if people start to like you, because if they start to like you, then it becomes a threat to their status quo. So, what is Fraser Health? What are their special costs? Like I said, what are they going to tell me to go donate some time somewhere for some other charity? Slap me on the wrist, go work at the food bank for as punishment, right? Would charge me $10,000, right? As they destroyed every opportunity that I could possibly foresee in the future in terms of working on the nonprofit, having a healthy relationship with my children as they disappear because they can't cope with life anymore and they're prepared for somebody else in their life to just disappear. So they might as well disappear first. I asked my middle daughter to help me list this stuff for Uncle John. I don't even know if I can't really see. Hold on a minute. See, I'm waiting. I'm not looking in there. I can't really see because my eyes are blurry, right? But I can see if the screen starts to get all funny. So that's why I'm looking there, because I'm looking for some change. Otherwise, I would normally be looking into the lens itself, right, as I'm talking. And because I don't have my glasses on, it's whatever. So, you know, I asked her, right? I said, look, I have to list the documents. I need help. Like, I need help with the transcripts. You said I've been asking for years, right?
Help! I don't want to help. Why would I want to help? The way you were talking to that lawyer, you're not going to be able to get in front of a judge. Nobody's going to want to listen to you, so therefore I'm not going to help.
Did you hear that, people? You want to know why? Because they've given up. That's why, people. They've given up. That's why these people do what they do. This is why they have immunity to do what they do. Because they know that if they break the spirit won't fight back. And they basically broke the spirit. Fraser Health Authority, CIBC Bank, and anyone else connected to those two corporations broke the spirits of my children. As they're all wanting to run away from life and blame me for every fucking thing that went wrong. Which is, they can move on. I have no problem with that. I just don't like the attitude attached to it because I know where it comes from. Right? It's not normal for people to disappear. Does Uncle John really want to be remembered as a dirty old white man that stuck around long enough just for the kids to grow up and then fucking disappear? After he told them since they were born that he loved them and that we were a family and that we all stick together? Do you know how betrayed they feel? As GMOI, I'm going to end it on this one. As GMOI spreads its smut, poisoning the minds of my children for advertisement, people. This is why they do it. Lot of advertisement. See all their little advertisement? They got it all over the place. Okay. They haven't posted in a while because they know that they've already caused the damage. Right? The damage is already done. And what do you call it? They're probably a little skeptical because they probably didn't think that I would be pushing so hard to take it to court. Because when this gets to court, people, trust me, this is on the table. God. Okay. Well, guys, let me just read this. Judy announced her daughter is pregnant. Just what Canada needs. Another cycle of mini Judy to take care of. So there is your Planned Parenthood. Let's kill babies and put them in McDonald's food. Do science experiments on them. Put them in vaccines. And just be gorish. He obviously, I don't even think it's a man. But anyway, this poster obviously supports mass abortion. Hopefully she doesn't pop out a full litter like Judy. Like I said, this person promotes Planned Parenthood and mass abortion for the purpose of selling baby parts, so that the kids actually have a chance at a normal life. Oh, so the kids actually have a chance at a normal life. What is that supposed to mean, people? Seriously. People just up and disappearing? Little children just disappearing? Old people? Notice it's little children disappearing, old people disappearing. And if Sierra, my oldest daughter, should disappear off the streets as like a native missing woman, nobody should be surprised. God, this is tragic. This is Fat Cheryl on a horse. Delivering yet another generation straight into the jaws of poverty and addiction. Oh, so that's what's going to happen to my grandchild after it's born. Well, why wouldn't it happen? Because that's what government employees foster. Because they're sure in the hell not fostering prosperity. And the only prosperity that they are fostering is among themselves. They feed themselves first before they feed anybody else. And thus why 17 years later, the concept of a universal school meal program is moot. Because they can't control it. And if they did control it, they would be feeding you fetuses. I really had high hopes for the 2 daughters and the 1 son. Hypocrite. Because if they had high hopes, they wouldn't be so heavy on their smear campaign. AKA, the 3 that seem to understand their mother is paranoid and mentally ill. So now this Fat Cheryl on a horse is a doctor. And completely ignores the fact that Uncle John was medically kidnapped through a corrupt system that needed his pensions to prop up their old folks' home because the economy is crashing and is teetering on the sale of overinflated house prices that they steal from old people as they go into the hospital for minor illnesses in terms of maybe a foot infection, or in Uncle John's case he had pneumonia, right? Or they have whatever. Their stories are out there. I had really hoped that they get out before she sucked them dry and get an education. No, they never wanted my kids to have an education. Okay, because if they wanted my children to have an education, they wouldn't have taken family members from the home like slavery. Like if we were just black people on a slave block, or Irish people or whoever on a slave block, or whoever on a slave block. It doesn't have to be just black people, but you get the point, right? It's just cheaper for the government to bring in their can't speak English foreign workers on their visas. So when they say jump the hoop, they jump the hoop and they don't question it because they don't want to get sent back to their own country. Been there, done that already with a video. It will be much harder now. I hope she moves out. Imagine having an infant in that pigsty. Well, people can say what they want, but at the end of the day, my middle daughter doesn't like to clean. So if it's a pigsty, it's only because one person can do so much in one day, right? In terms of dishes, garbage, and all that other crap, right? And only one person can do so much in a huge yard in a day. It's so dusty and smoky and hoarded up. Definitely a fire hazard and full of rotting food and moths. So what, this person's been in my house? I got all this rotting food? No, people, I got food in this house that if a disaster happened tomorrow, I could feed my family for a year. And a couple of neighbors. This person doing this Fat Cheryl on a horse mantra couldn't feed herself if a disaster happened. And she wouldn't be fat no more. She'd live off her fat. That would be the only way she could survive. I would think Children's Services would have an issue with it, but apparently not. Well, we already know that they tried to have Andre removed from the house by calling social services, in addition to these same individuals called my landlord and called the city and whoever else they tried to call to get me evicted at one point in the past. I hold Fraser Health Authority responsible for that, and I hold CIBC Bank responsible for that, because if Uncle John wouldn't have went missing, these people wouldn't be able to talk about this shit and then have their advertisement up there. But of course, Judy's priorities are making sure no roots cross the fence. Well, again, I don't even think this person would know how to grow a peanut if it hit them on the head. Right? Because they're probably very, very lazy. Extremely lazy. Right? So, until they get out there and start digging in the dirt, plant a garden, have a full yard of food, then they really don't have nothing to say. Imagine being her neighbors, having to look at that junkyard day after day, and then having her get ugly over roots. Laughing out loud. Poor people. Also, why wouldn't she be thrilled with free raspberries and greens? She will hike all over Surrey to drag home rotten wood and wormy, inedible horse chestnuts, but bitch about a free food growing on her fence lines. Makes no sense. She always has to be the victim. Always. Again, when the disaster hits, this person will be the first one pushing past everybody with her fat ass, right? Trying to get in the line first to get her free handout because she was too busy sitting up on GMOI being a gossip bitch, right? Causing trouble to distract away from what happened to Uncle John in the real world of medical kidnappings. The good news is that she seems to be starting to understand she's never going to have a big payout because Uncle John moved to where she can't financially abuse him anymore. That hasn't been determined, people. This is gossip, okay? And as it is, like I said, so what? Did Uncle John just stick around long enough until the kids got older and he just wasn't interested in being around them anymore, even though he told them that he loved them from the day they were born until the day he disappeared and told all of us to stick together as a family, which included him? What is Fraser Health so afraid of that they want to dismiss that fact? Whether it's a material fact or whether it's evidence. And then sit up there and say, but we want special costs because because what she's accusing us is serious. But yet you don't want to go to court and determine the truth. Because they damn well fucking know. Did you see her dolled up for that lawyer meeting? If he actually implied she was a tramp because he called her John's friend. It's written in my notice of claim, people, that Uncle John was my stepdad. They purposely ignored that and tried to put the word friend in there. Everybody knows what that means, right? Because they're trying to skirt away from the institutions and plant it into the lap of the loving sister nurse who works for the institution under her cold white. I hope the hell she's shaking in her fucking boots. It was more like, and like I said, people, I can't go to the healthcare system. I'd have to be on my fucking deathbed before they could roll my ass up in there. Okay? Because they're not health professionals. They're staging actors. That's what they are. Somebody will purposely sabotage my IV line just to try and silence me on this crap. I can see it happening. And it's not being paranoid, okay? It's not being paranoid because these lawsuits are legitimate. I'm not talking the funk. It was more likely because she was dressed up like a 70s street walker. There you go. There you go. Thank you very much, CIBC Bank, Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, and the Fraser Health Authority, and the Victoria Island Health Authority. Thank you very much. And as the BC Liberal government is going out the door, thank you very much, Christy Clark, with your AAA credit rating, which means absolutely nothing.